Well, good morning, Mitch. It's the morning after the night before. Obviously, a disappointing evening. No one likes going out the FA Cup, especially at this stage. What are your reflections on the match last night and what you learned over the two games?
I think if I'm being brutally honest, and I had a chat with a lot of the boys last night, I think it was a fair result. I don't think looking back over the two legs, we'd done enough as a team to warrant going through. And Sittingbourne, I thought, were tough. They were difficult. I think they taught us a few lessons. And I think if we learn from those, it'll only be a positive going forward. It's never nice to lose a football game, especially in the FA Cup, as we know Dover previously. We've had a couple of really good FA Cup runs, but it wasn't to be last night or on Saturday. I think we got away with one on Saturday, taking them back to our place. But again, yeah, we didn't quite reach where we needed to be last night, which was disappointing.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Sittingbourne deserved to win over the two matches, didn't they? But what do you think it was that we didn't quite get right? I mean, we sort of got, I don't know, dragged into a game that really we didn't want to be involved in.
Yeah, I think maybe how we scored the two goals in the final 10 minutes on Saturday with balls into the box and causing carnage. I think maybe yeah, from the outset, we kind of went down that road, and I don't think, on reflection, it was maybe the best idea to do. I think Sittingbourne were quite comfortable doing that, and yeah, as I said, yeah, I think Sittingbourne that they showed a little bit more experience than us, which is going to happen. They've got a very experienced team, and I'd say the one thing that we need to learn quite quickly, because we are a young team, albeit a lot of the boys have played a lot of games at such a young age. That little bit of experience, I think, showed last night with how they controlled the game, how they slowed it down. Yeah, it was a very good away performance from them. And as much as we huffed and puffed, unfortunately, yeah, we couldn't find that equaliser.
Yeah, I mean, there were some moments in that match last night, wasn't there? I mean, obviously, Ruben's so unlucky with that shot out of nothing that hit in the post. I thought that was going in. And of course, Alfie Matthews was outstanding at times, wasn't he, last night? And I thought he was perhaps going to drag the game back for us.
Yeah, Ruben's one, I must admit, as soon as he hit it, I thought it was in. I was right behind it, and it's difficult to tell sometimes how far they out. Sorry, how far out they are from my perspective, but it looked as though he was a good 30, 35 yards. And when he hit it, it was going quite well wide, and it moved. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's going in. And unfortunately, it just hit the outside of the post and went out for a throw in. And then both of Alfie's ones, I must admit, I thought both of those were in as well. The keeper made a very good save on one. It was going to his right. I think he hit it from about 40 yards out or so. It was going to his right, then it went down the middle, then it went to the left, and he managed to just claw it away. And the one that hit the bar as well, I thought at first was going miles over, and then all of a sudden it just dipped last minute. And yeah, he unfortunately hit the bar for our sake. But as I said, we huffed and puffed. I think on a different day, one of those would have gone in. Don't take anything away from Sittingbourne. They could have quite easily been 2-0 up. They hit the inside of the post first half and had a couple of good opportunities second half as well. So, yeah, as I said, tough game, difficult pill to swallow, but we must move on.
Just going back to the first match, before we do move on, of course, you scored. So obviously it means nothing now, but just talk us through what happened in that game. It was quite a freak sort of incident, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, I think that was my second goal I've scored. The first one came from when I was playing under nines for my local village team on a very small pitch and a very small ball. But I've nearly scored a couple of times in my sort of professional career, but hit the crossbar, goalkeeper's made a save. But it was just one of those moments where the ball was put into a dangerous area from myself. The centre halves and the goalkeeper got a little bit mixed up, and then that bounce just yeah, sometimes it goes over the crossbar, sometimes it bounces perfectly into the goalkeeper's hands, but fortunately for us this time it sort of just bounced just enough sort of over the goalkeeper that it went in, and not so much that it went over the top of the bar. But as I said, that gave us a little bit of hope, and then yeah, we managed to get the equaliser, again in slightly fortunate circumstances. But to be fair, I said to the goalkeeper after the game last night, I thought he was absolutely outstanding, and in my opinion I thought he was man of the match. Difficult to do, especially as a young goalkeeper, with the last 10 minutes that he had on Saturday, to come and put that performance in that he did last night. Didn't have lots to do, but I thought he looked assured on the stuff that he did do, and he made a couple of really good saves. So, yeah, I don't think that if he would have played as well as he did, I think we would be in the hat.
Yeah, you have to give a lot of credit to him, and obviously a lot of credit to Sittingbourne for the way they managed those two games. One thing I will say, I mean, obviously that first game, being able to claw that out at 2-2 when it looks like it's a lost cause, and that's, this team does seem to have that sort of backbone to it. I mean, okay, last night it didn't come off, but the Chichester game, for example, that could have easily been 4-2 down at half time or 4-2 up, but it wasn't going as we wanted. But then produced a brilliant second half. So this team is capable of solving problems when things aren't going right.
Of course. And I think with younger players, I think that's the sort of Jekyll and Hyde. And I think the one thing I'm really looking forward to this season, and I think every single game we play as a group, as a team, and individually, we're going to take little lessons and we're going to get better and better and better. That spark, that energy, that excitement, I think that will be with us all season. But as I said, I think those moments where maybe we're a little bit indecisive, maybe we're a little bit unsure, that's going to slowly start to eradicate as the season goes on.
And of course, fans were deflated last night, as everyone was. The team. I mean, I was watching the players in the bar afterwards. Everyone was gutted. And there's sort of this consensus that Sittingbourne wanted it more than us, and I suppose it looked like that at times in the match last night. But of course, you got players who are making sacrifices. I was speaking to Rubens, who's a teacher. He had to be up at 5:30 in the morning to do his stuff before he went to work. And that's sort of happening among lots of players at this level, isn't it? Players really do want it. They, even if it doesn't appear like it on the night.
Yeah, one thing that sort of stuck with me from last night's game, as we were sort of going off, there was a couple of sort of comments from the crowd as such, which 99% of them were very good and positive. There was a couple who kind of said they felt as though the performance, the players were a disgrace. Now, I totally understand. As a fan, you pay your money, you are 100% entitled to your opinion, and that's absolutely fine. But all I would say is that I don't think Sittingbourne wanted it more than us last night. I think that's an unfair comment. Maybe from the outside, maybe little bits of body language. I can see how that is perceived, but I think that's, instead of wanting it more, I think that's momentum in games. If you would have seen the last 10 minutes on Saturday only, you would have said that we wanted that game a hell of a lot more than Sittingbourne did. And there were times in the game last night where we were on top. There were games where Sittingbourne were on top. And again, I think just a little bit naivety from us that when teams are on top and they do have those spells, which regardless of who you're going to play, that is going to happen. You've just got to ride it out. You've got to be strong. You've got to keep your body language good, because sometimes that's a little bit infectious amongst the rest of the peers, where if one person's body shape or body language drops, that can sometimes have a little bit of a domino effect. So, as I said, yeah, it's small steps. But for me, I think so far, if you would have said to me the first 5 games in, very disappointed, obviously, to be out of the FA Cup. But we're fourth, I think, at the moment. We've won 3 games. Please tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure last year the club only won 4 games in the league last season. So if we went on Saturday against Dartford, we've matched that already. And yeah, there's a hell of a lot of positivity about the place. And as I said, even last night, it was a pleasure to play in front of the crowd. Fantastic crowd. It seems as though that momentum's really starting to gain, and it helps us as the players on the
Yeah.
pitch, especially the younger boys who haven't sort of maybe experienced it too much. Yeah, the emotion and the support of the players and the fans after the game supporting us, shaking our hands, top draw.
I mean, it's been a difficult, I think, 4 seasons now. It's been very difficult last 4 seasons, as we all know. And, it's been a bit of a rebuild job this summer. And, it's a very young side. But there's been a real feel-good factor around the club, actually. And fans, as you say, have been absolutely brilliant. And it's important to keep that going, isn't it? Even when there's a game like last night, which doesn't go in your favour, and it's a poor performance on the night, you've got to keep faith. Because actually, we've got to this stage, and the fans have been very much involved in that process, haven't they?
Massively, absolutely massively. I've had times in my career at different clubs where it's not the most pleasant place to play at home, and that shouldn't be what it's like. You should be looking forward to your home games, and the fans are a massive, massive part of that. And as I said, I take my hat off to everyone so far down at Dover, because it's been fantastic, and that's been such a big part of why the team have been doing well. And yeah, as I said to you, or I said to everyone at the beginning of the seasons, we're going to have a lot of ups this season. I can feel it and I know it. But there's also going to be some downs. That's sport, that's football, that's competitiveness, that's life. And unfortunately, last night it was a down, but there's going to be plenty more ups when we look back at the end of the season than there are downs.
Yeah, and as you rightly pointed out, the team are, I think, are fourth or fifth in the table at the moment, right up there. 19 goals scored, which makes them the top score. Makes you the top scorers in the league. And this is all with a pretty much a brand new side. So there's a lot of things to be positive about.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the amount of goals we've scored so far has been absolutely fantastic, and that just shows how dangerous we are as a team. And Nick Ash has been absolutely fantastic since I've come in the building, and he scored a hell of a lot of goals. But a lot of the boys also are chipping in with assists, and it's not just a sort of one person scoring all the goals. It's been great that the goals have been spread amongst the team. And yeah, as I said to you, I really do believe we're going to get better and better and better as we go, because it is pretty much a brand new team. I had the pleasure of playing with Luca and JT last season at Whitehawk, but a lot of the other boys, obviously the boys who remained from last season, but they're getting used to how we play, we're getting used to how they play, and so is everybody else. So a lot of teams at this level, they've had a good foundation from last year or the year before. That's been taken away from Dover, and yeah, from what we're doing this year, it's, as you mentioned, starting afresh, and yeah, we're looking forward to it.
And Mitch, as one of the experienced players in the dressing room, obviously you're the elder statesman. So when you get a situation like last night, and then you're looking forward to bouncing back, what sort of role have you been playing in that, Mitch? I mean, obviously you speak to the players all the time, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's very easy to sulk, let your heads drop, because that's the emotion that hits you when that final whistle goes and you've lost the game of football. You've got to find that balance, I think, as players and as a whole club, of letting it hurt, keeping that within you, but using it in a positive way, and then putting it to bed and focusing on what's going forward. Because as much as we want last night to change and we don't want to lose football games, it's going to happen. But the best teams that I've been part of at Dover previously, at Aldershot, at Whitehawk, Brighton when I was a youngster, I learned quite quickly that when things go bad, you've got to pocket them, you've got to put them to the side, and you've got to move on, because we've got, what, 3 days before another big game against Dartford. Yeah, football moves on quickly, so do we. As I said, you got to learn from them. It's no good being naive and just saying, "Oh, we lost the game of football," and "Oh, come on, let's move on to the next one." You got to make sure we pick and choose what we take out of the game, positive and negatives, and use them in the right way going forward.
Yeah, it's very important not to get too emotional either way. The old cliche, too high, too low. You can't do either of those things. What's the message been like from the management team? I mean, obviously, they got a major role in all this as well.
I mentioned in pre-season, but the team that Jake's put together, I think, is absolutely fantastic, because you've got Paul Barnes in there, who's very knowledgeable, speaks to the players individually a lot, and kind of observes and kind of picks and chooses when he comes in. But when he does come in and sort of say his bit, it's extremely valuable to the group. Mike has been excellent working with the boys. He's obviously worked with them for a long time, the ones that have been at the club for quite a while. And yeah, he knows them personally, and Jake sort of oversees everything, and the balance of it, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, so far I think Jake's hit the nail on the head with everything. When we've needed a little bit of a arm around our shoulder, it's been there for the group. But also when we need a bit of a kick, it's also been there. So yeah, as I said, I no complaints from me whatsoever from the staff. And yeah, as I said, we are all in this together.
And just finally, Dartford, huge match. I mean, it's an old Kent derby. That one. There's always been rivalry between Dover and Dartford. You must be looking forward to that one. And what sort of game do you expect?
All my games that I've had against Dartford over the years, I think it's maybe the seventh or eighth time that I've played against them, but it's always been a difficult game. I've never ever had an easy game against Dartford. On the whole, had positive results against them. We've had a few losses against them, but yeah, on the whole, positive. I'm expecting no different on Saturday. I'm expecting it to be a really tough game, and I think if we can find that nice balance as a group between attacking and defending in the right moments and not sort of being too open, I really do believe we're going to have another positive game on Saturday. And yeah, we'll wait and see. And as you mentioned, it's important to take the positives from the games that we've had so far in the league. We've had a good start, and if we win on Saturday, it will be an even better start.